Okay, ready? Here it goes. This is pretty exciting. This is like really exciting. This is the story of a beautiful black walnut dresser that took almost 3 years to complete. I'm going to share everything we learned along the way in our process, and I hope you'll join me. Hey, I'm Max. Welcome to Hunter Farms. This walnut log was so big, my tractor could barely pick it up. And believe it or not, it came to us in a 30-foot section. We chunked it into 3 pieces, and this is the larger of the 3. Here's a sneak peek of some of the figure that's in that tree. What do you think we should build with it? For this piece, I am milling the uppermost section of the tree. And you see where it branches off there at the end? This is known as a crotch. The crotchial region was used to dramatic effect in the 6-way book matches on the drawer fronts. Crazy figured sections like this often come from difficult growing conditions that the tree faces, and they can be equally difficult to work. Fight through it and you can get some really beautiful results. My sawmill is homemade. I built it on the ground on a gravel driveway in front of my house over the course of about a year or so. Back then, I was traveling for work up to 3 weeks a month, and I was thinking about and working on this project every spare second that I had. It was my first real big project, and I learned a lot about fabrication, about life, and ultimately about woodworking. After the sawmill, we stack and sticker, and I like to let the wood sit for a little while and rest before going in the solar kiln. We built the solar kiln a few years ago, and it has been a really great addition to this process. It helps dry the wood defect-free and in a very gentle way. It's really similar to air drying. Air-dried wood is far more beautiful and nicer to work than commercially steamed and flash-dried lumber, and this is especially true in the case of walnut. Here my lovely assistant wife Jordan lends a hand, and I'm trying to impress her with my antics. But I'm not really sure it's working. What do you think? I am filming. I think it's probably pretty important to keep things fresh when you're working with your significant other and keep them on their toes. Like the collect thing guy. If you can believe it, Netflix still hasn't called.
You just almost hit that.
Did you hear her say you almost hit me with that? Oops. What you're watching us do now is the first step of grain selection when working with a flitch sawn material is a real luxury. Flitch sawn refers to a log that has been sawn from the top to the bottom, and you have the entire piece there. So all the grain, the color, and figure matches perfectly from top to bottom, and you can really select what you're going to use for what part. It's time to remove the wood from the hotbox kiln. In reality, about 6 months have passed. You probably noticed that I was filming myself going in and out of a door, and the realities of filming a YouTube video include setting up the shot, filming yourself pretending to do something, moving the shot, and doing it all over again. Whenever I show my DIY hotbox kiln, people are always really interested in it, and let me know if you want to see more about it. It's just powered with a simple standard household dehumidifier and cheap halogen work lights. Here's a pro tip for you. Before planing or jointing, always wire brush your rough lumber to remove dirt, grit, and other nonsense that's embedded in the bark and in the wood fibers. This is my Oliver number 61 planer from 1927. It's 30 inches wide. I bought it non-working condition from the grandson of the original owner, and with a serious effort, we managed to restore it into working order. We now use the machine daily. With a 10 horsepower 3-phase direct drive motor and leather belts, just listen to that slapping. This machine weighs as much as my tractor, which also makes everything more difficult. This is pretty cool because you're actually watching along with us one of the very first pieces of wood that we ever ran through this machine. Don't let anyone tell you that straight knives don't have a place in today's workshop. Helical cutters are not the only solution. I hope you enjoyed this as much as I did. Now on to the resaw. Resawing was required on this project in order to get that really cool 6-way book match that we used on the drawer fronts. And it also maximizes our yield for this beautiful figured section because there's only a little bit of it. We're shooting for a final thickness of around 3/32 of an inch. Some crazy tension in it, look at this. In between each pass on the bandsaw, it's best practice to run over to the jointer and just kiss the wood through. About 1/32 of an inch or less, just enough to get the teeth marks off. That'll give you a perfect face on every single one of your veneers. These pieces are about 15 inches tall, and you'll see the Yates Y36 from the 1950s is effortlessly slicing through these veneers, and it has perfect accuracy. I ran into a really uncommon problem with this walnut. It had embedded silica, which would quickly dull blades, even on the sawmill. It made it very difficult to saw. This, of course, was no match for the Yates, which is always just begging for more. Each of the 36-inch wheels is cast iron and weighs about 400 pounds, generates a crazy amount of cutting inertia from the flywheel effect, and it is smooth as silk. Instead of crazy expensive carbide blades, I can get away with just standard carbon steel blades for resawing. But at 22 feet long, they have a whole lot of teeth, which leads to a very nice long sharp life. Jordan and I picked up this machine at an auction. It's a bit of a crazy story, but we had really high hopes that it would be a resaw monster, and that's exactly what it is. If you want to see more of the machine, drop us a comment below. Sawing just a C hair above 3/32 will get us right on the money after running these pieces through the drum sander. That's the best way I've found to clean up saw marks on these really thin pieces. Picking the right grain orientation on the drawer fronts is probably the most important part of this build. So I'll try and take my time here and make idiot-proof marks. I recommend that for everyone. Next it's into the vacuum bag. We're using West Systems epoxy for the long open time and rigid glue line. The veneered parts have a baked-in solid walnut edging for a burrito of goodness. Beauty. Used way too much blue tape. Okay, ready?
Ready.
First press. That actually makes me want coffee.
Because you're thinking of a press.
Yeah. Well, a French press would be good. Should we have one tomorrow?
Yeah, we have a French press.
Or tonight? We can do more work.
Maybe not, but we could have a coffee before bed.
Check the burrito. Where's this thing? Callie, you can use it. Here it goes. I should probably mention here that we're using the VacuPress Professional Pump and one of their cheaper vacuum bags. We've hardly done a project without using the vacuum press since we got it, so I'm going to have to highly recommend this. Hey, thanks for making it this far. It's that point in the video when I need to thank our sponsors. And this is our first YouTube video, so we'd really appreciate if you click that follow button. We, of course, is me, myself, and Max. And turn the camera around and show yourself. No. Jordan, yes, turn it around. There's Jordan, my lovely assistant wife. Now, why should you follow us? We are professional furniture makers. This is what we do for a living. We design and build beautiful high-end custom furniture. What we're looking to do on YouTube is share the journey. We want to elevate our craft, design, passion, enjoyment for woodworking, and we want to bring you all along with us. So if that sounds like something you're into, please, 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 please follow us. All right? Thanks. So let's check it out. Y'all ready for this? Ooh, that was nice. Yeah, man. That looks really cool. I love it. Now that the burritos are fully cooked, it's time to clean up the blue tape. This can be extremely hard to remove without pulling up fibers because it's just been pressed on with a lot of force. Use a heat gun and the tape will peel cleanly and easily. Cleaning up the edges is best accomplished with a hand plane. It will keep the edges perfectly flat, crisp, and beautiful. A sander would just muddle these details. Do you notice how I'm holding the hand plane here? Very mindful, very demure. Many of you are actually grasping the front knob. When planing or jointing on the edge of a board, this is actually the proper way to hold. Use your thumb for down pressure and the fingers that extend under the plane as a fence. It will keep your tool perfectly square to the piece. Just don't put those fingies next to the sharp blade. And now for the moment you've all been waiting for, on to the finish. We're using Southern Wells wiping varnish for this piece. This is the first of 2 sealer coats. I really won't recommend using a foam brush to apply this product, but I guess we're not all perfect. Get yourself a nice natural bristle brush for oil paints and varnishes, and you can thank me later. So it's about 12:30. I got kind of a slow start. This is the first coat of the polymerized wiping. It's the wiping varnish. And you'll notice by the can that I had a little bit of an accident here and sent it flying. So anyhow, after the 2 coats of the sealer, which probably only needed 1, and I could have done this a lot earlier in the day, I was just tired. So put this on, I'm going to wipe it off, and we might leave a standing coat on the final depending on the sheen that we want, but we're just about to wipe this off and we'll see how it looks. Finish is something we pay a lot of attention to around here because it's the most important part of the project. We really like to nerd out on this, so if you have any questions about products, methods, techniques, any issues that you're having, drop them in the comments below and maybe we'll do a whole video about them. All right, what do we do every time before we go to put the stuff away? 1, 2, 3. Bob's your uncle. Final step. It's time to build a base, and I wanted to use real joinery here since this is a real piece of furniture. Dominoes or pocket screws would just feel wrong. Start by cutting mortise and housing pockets on the mortising machine while the wood is still square. Next, I'm going to lightly glue windows into the housing pocket before turning the piece round on the lathe. This will ensure that we don't have any tear out. The solid brass poles are machined in-house. I use the shaper origin to rough out the shape before moving on to the Bridgeport mill. Now, the shaper origin, which is a handheld CNC, is not the best tool for the job. But if you go slow and shallow, you can accomplish the task with a whole lot of passes. It just doesn't have the rigidity that a real CNC or metal machining center would have. Alright, so for this operation I use the readout here and I only have one. The Y is the only one that reads, so when I need to use the other one I'll just go and switch these two cables here so I can use my X-axis. But right now I have it set just so I actually only need the Y-axis because I'm just going in and out. We're already set on the dimension here and we have a stop set for this operation. So we can just turn it on and I have the power down feed set as well. Drills the hole, bada bing. Now I'm going to move this over to 0. That's where my second hole is. That's what she said. Now 0. Pull the lever. Bada bing. Bada boom. On to the next one. So here's the last setup. We're going to be countersinking these holes. So we have the depth collar set here. The auto's on, although we don't need it. This is going to reference, off the shoulder. Alright, so these are polished up. This one has satin lacquer on it. It's a little hard to see, but I think it dulls it a little bit too much. I think I'm going to have to get a gloss lacquer. Or put a gloss lacquer on here instead, which I usually like to avoid, but since these are going to be handled so much, I think they need to be lacquered. The four-way book matched veneers. Still need to do a little bit of fine-tuning on the reveals here, but we're getting pretty close. Solid ash drawer boxes. Very nice, and the base is right over here. And the base has brass tootsies as well. So that's going to go on here and be flush with the front. Final step is sinking the drawer pulls into the drawer faces. Remember, these are laminated and veneered walnut, so I had to be very careful with this step. Final little details like this always make me very nervous. They may seem simple and easy, but at this point in the project, one little slip and it can be devastating. Brass screws provide a nice touch in any high-end piece of furniture, but there's a couple things you need to keep in mind. Pre-drill the proper size hole, slowly insert them by hand, and don't forget to lubricate. Oh hey, remember me? Max, Owner Farms. Thanks for watching the whole video. Please drop us a subscribe. Please subscribe. We'd love it if you would subscribe and follow. And we'll see you on the next video. I promise it can only get better from here.